So I'm Harriet. I'm the lead pharmacist for older people for Swansea Bay, and I'm here with Sheridan as well today. And Sheridan's not coming up on my screen. I think sure that she's on the other side screen. Oh, there
Yeah,
you
I am here.
are.
Got my
Sorry, I
laptop
couldn't
to
see
work.
you. I've gone onto the other screen now. So yeah, we wanted to talk to you today about polypharmacy. So as many of you may know already, polypharmacy is when you take multiple medications and it can be appropriate or problematic. So if it's appropriate, it may be that an individual is taking multiple medications, but actually they're all, doing their job, they're working well and they're optimized. But sometimes it can be problematic where multiple medications are being taken and they may have interactions or perhaps they're not really beneficial anymore and the risk is outweighing the benefit. And in light of that, as you previously mentioned, we had written some guidelines a couple of years ago now, and we recently did a review, and we wanted to try and create some patient information leaflets or some kind of information around polypharmacy, and we really wanted to try and gain your perspective on it rather than us just sort of delve straight into it and create something that wouldn't be useful. So we thought we'd come here today now and speak to you to see if you are able to offer your perspective and maybe answer a few questions if you guys wouldn't mind. So we'll go on to the discussion point. So basically, we've got a few questions. So the first question, would it be useful to have a leaflet just giving a bit of information on polypharmacy and whether it is, problematic or but how it can be problematic, how it can be beneficial? Would anyone find that useful? Yeah, okay, great. We've got one thumbs up. I can't see all the faces, so I'll go back
I'll
and
keep
forth.
I'll keep an eye out as
Fab.
well.
Okay.
For you.
So yeah, okay, great. And then, so if it would be beneficial, would it be useful to have a leaflet to give general advice about how medicines can influence balance or contribute to falls? Because that's another factor that sometimes polypharmacy can increase the risk of falls. And we know that as people get older, falls risk increases. So would that be beneficial? Yeah, I can see at least one thumbs up. So that's a
There were several thumbs up.
okay, good. Okay,
Yes.
good. We're on the right track then. And then I guess would it be useful to have an information leaflet which would include some information about a medication review and what you can expect in a medication review? Um, because I suppose as well it might be useful. We were thinking about what to take to a medication review to kind of prompt like those questions. Perhaps that would be an opportunity for you to ask questions about certain medications, bring your list of medications, that type of thing. Yeah. Okay, fab. And then,
Harriet, I don't know if I'm allowed to interrupt,
oh,
but
of course you can.
yeah,
Yes.
one of the things I'm talking as a patient now as well is
Fab.
I often don't know when I come to order medication that I needed an annual review on something. So as part of that, I think it'd be really helpful when you start a medicine to actually be told that because you end up running out because you didn't realize you need a review and as a
Yeah.
pharmacist, I wasn't aware of that. But yeah, so that's something I would find really helpful.
Yeah, and it's different for different medications as well, isn't it? Because like some medications, it depends on how they've prescribed them on the GP system. They might have put it on for 6 months, depends on the risks and stuff like that. So yeah, that would be useful. And I guess like when to see the if I say GP, pharmacist, whoever it would be. And I guess so. Would you want it to contain then as well examples of when to contact a care professional? So, for example, like you say, like with the fact that for a certain period of time you may be prescribed it, but you may need an annual review. But also there's things like side effects, changes in balance, sleepiness that might be due to the medication. And perhaps people, may be experiencing falls, they may be experiencing certain side effects and not realize it's down to the medication. And I appreciate that a lot of people people seem to be more aware of these things these days, but I don't know whether that might be useful for some people. Yeah, fabric. Again, I can see one thumbs up, so that's great. Shall I hand over to you, Sharon? Sorry, because I realise I'm chatting away here. I don't know if you want to chime in as well.
Yeah. And so the next sort of thing we thought of was should the leaflet describe the benefits of reducing or stopping certain medicines? But I think sometimes, so I've sort of moved into sort of the Parkinson side of things now, and that's a progressive condition, and lots of the time we all think of it as let's add more and more and more because it's progressing. But actually, sometimes the side effects, like we've already said, outweigh the benefits, and actually pulling back on some medications is sometimes better for quality of life. So yeah, would that be appropriate to sort of put that in the leaflet to describe that actually deprescribing isn't a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing. Yeah, a couple of thumbs up.
Fab.
I think as well. Sorry, I mustn't introduce
No, you carry on.
introductive, but I think as well sometimes it's when something in there potentially about, so sometimes when you get an awful lot of medicines, people decide which ones are the most important, and it's that's something I don't know how you would potentially address it in the leaflet, but I know yeah, just recently been putting out my mum's medicines, and there's literally half a cup, and so actually I don't know how we let patients know, but potentially that if you're not taking all of them, that there are some in that pot of many that are more important, and
Yeah,
I don't know how we address that in that, but that in terms of certainly that's my experience, that some people choose which to take and they mightn't be the really, really important ones. So actually that it's okay to have that conversation if you get to a point where there is just too many, that it's okay to have that conversation.
Louise has actually raised that in the chat as well, about, deprescribing, it will require careful wording to ensure people don't just stop a medication themselves.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Louise, whether you want to. I don't want to put anyone on the spot. If you'd rather just leave comments in the chat, do. But please feel free, to just speak up if you wanted to add anything more to what you've put in the chat as well.
Thank you, Claire. I was just aware of, if I just put it in the text, it was a little bit sort of clearer, maybe. So yeah, I'm just thinking of that situation. I think it's of benefit, but maybe in the review part, and as how the review is best, or unless that there is some sort of, no, I wouldn't even link it in with a severe sort of possible like reaction or anything like that. I would just say that they need to get help quite quickly. Yeah, because it's just that risk of people just stopping it if it's not clear.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And I think it is important to outline to patients, and I'm sorry if you don't mind me using the word patients, that it is important that sometimes we do review medications, and the benefit. There's things like prescribing cascade, which at one point medications might have been appropriate, and then multiple get prescribed, and then further down the line perhaps they're no longer appropriate. So I think outlining that would be helpful. But then like you say, we don't want people to stop things on their own, so encouraging that it's done in line with a medication review. So definitely that's really helpful, so thank you.
Okay, there's also another few comments on the chat as well. Alan from Ataxia has stated that false information about that would be very appropriate for the patient group that he represents, and plus many patients would welcome these leaflets to empower them with their health condition. Alan, again, I don't want to put you on the spot, but please feel free to add anything else if you wanted to, with your general observation there. And also we've got Marianne as well, who's actually mentioned about the NHS app, and whether medication review alerts or notifications that one is due could be triggered via that as well, which is probably a wider piece of work.
Yeah, but it's a good point, isn't it? Especially with the way technology is these days, the more we can utilize that, isn't it? That's a good suggestion. So that's great. Thank you. I'll click on to the next slide. So we're doing a piece of work around medication adherence at the moment, and we wondered as well whether including some information around that, about what types of aids are available. I think often people automatically think of like a Nomad tray or a Dorset, whatever you want to call it, But there's multiple different devices available that can support medication to encourage people to remain independent, to take their medication. So maybe something like that, would that be helpful or not? Or maybe not. Yeah. Got
Does
a
anyone have
nod.
any thoughts on that in particular? I know we've talked about adherence in the past at these meetings, and we have touched on this kind of topic with
Okay.
trade and things like that.
It's interesting that you mentioned about the NHS app, but one of the things I'm interested what people's thoughts are is where do they access, the information on medication? Because some GP practices, have information there, but I don't know if there's one source where you could go and look for this sort of information, or where would people like that to be? Because I personally don't know where the one place to look if you were, if you wanted this sort of information.
Don't know as well. I mean, obviously, we are actually leading the kind of redevelopment of the Your Medicines, Your Health kind of program, and whether this kind of thing is what that will be kind of geared towards. As that kind of information resource that the NHS patients and theirs. So whether there's kind of that opportunity there to kind of work with that as well.
Yes, and just if anybody has used any resources or patient information leaflets, where did you find out about them? Is it through patient organisations, or is it on NHS app? Or I know patient organisations have fantastically active Facebook groups, or that can be a really good source. But just really, interested.
Yeah, and Louise as well has pointed out a very important point as well. About information overload as well, is that it can be just too much information out there. So Louise kind of stated, perhaps to keep it brief, avoid overload and just direct people to the fact there is information out there, and just with a professional, for examples, and support. Should they throw in anything appropriate? And also, particularly in relation to older people, so people with substance larger, all those kind of those techniques, for communication. And Alan has also mentioned that his chemist uses the NHS app, which doesn't really work in West Wales, so dear.
Okay.
And they have their own WhatsApp group, but it would be good to have a uniform service.
Yeah, so perhaps another piece of work coming out of this around the NHS app, I think, isn't there? Yeah.
Yes, well, it's funny actually. My son works for DHCW on the NHS WhatsApp, so
Good link.
Can I ask, Alan, is that WhatsApp group a patient WhatsApp group, or?
No, sorry, it's the pharmacy's own WhatsApp group.
Oh, that's brilliant. The pharmacy has their own WhatsApp group.
Yeah, which is very
That's
confusing.
fantastic.
It's very confusing because you do your repeats through it. They reply to say they've seen the message, but it doesn't always, how can I say, it doesn't always materialize. And I've heard quite a few patients say the same. So we end up ringing.
I think, Alan, every time I'm in a pharmacy, every single time, people are talking about they've ordered a repeat, and for whatever reason, it might be in a medication review or something, but it hasn't materialized. So I think whatever way we communicate about ordering repeats, I think we can improve that, I'm sure, because every time. But it's interesting though. I think what you raise, WhatsApp is probably something that we're familiar with and we use, and I know NHS have an update chat on WhatsApp, so I think that's, you've raised an important thing. That's something that patients are using and familiar with. So, might be an interesting thing for us, I don't think we've explored it. I don't know, Harriet, are you aware of anything? But I know
No,
I look at the NHS updates on WhatsApp, and yeah, it's a good source of that people tend to be familiar with, I suppose. So yeah, I was interested in that. Yeah. It's
yeah.
unfortunate that it's not working, but
I don't know what the governance is around something like that, so it's not something I've explored really.
Mm.
I
Um,
think that's an issue as well, isn't it? Is governance and information
yeah.
sharing.
Mm.
Um,
Um, but touching on the suggestion around making it, user friendly, that's something that we wanted to explore, wasn't it, Sheridan, around
Yeah.
whether, a booklet with all the information in one source would be better, or multiple leaflets on different topics. So, like, for example, a adherence aids or a falls leaflet, something, what is more beneficial, I guess? Is it easier to have it all in one, or is that going to be information overload? Is it easier to have one booklet? Yeah, okay. So having it in one place all together rather than having it like, in multiple sources. Yeah,
so
okay.
you're also talking about you're going to have hard copies of these. It's not going to be just an
So
online resource.
I think we need to explore that. So currently, we were thinking it would be something that a healthcare professional would be able to access, or people themselves could access online and print off, or a healthcare professional could print off for the individual if they weren't able to access this online. Because we're obviously aware of the digital exclusion aspect as well, particularly if it's targeted toward older people. We don't want to assume people can't use, the internet, or there's older people, so a wide range. So it's trying to include both sides, isn't it? If I'm making any sense.
yeah. And Harriet, can I ask a question to the
Of
group as
course.
well as to if they don't access it in the internet, where locally would they like to
Mm.
access this sort of information? So pharmacies obviously is somewhere that you'll be going to pick up medication, but again, it's just there's not room to have every single leaflet. So is this something that in libraries and community centres, or what sort of places for people who don't access them? That to make sure they're accessible to all, I think. Yeah, something I've often thought about is, you that actually being able to pick up a leaflet somewhere that you regularly go is important
Mm.
as well if you can't for older people. One of the things I just having my mum recently been discharged, the amount of information, and again, I'm talking to somebody who's in the business, but yeah, I think that's important that actually you get given an enormous amount, and it's quite hard to take it all in. But actually, so I think having a hard copy is really helpful because if you just access it, you might remember to go back to that. So sometimes
Yeah.
I think having a hard copy is
Yeah,
really
Mm.
Louise has
important.
also raised that in the chat. Actual booklets are required for accessibility and would be more likely to be kept and
Gosh,
Mm.
grocery stores, that's
referred to. And just GP surgeries, although many don't have general leaflets now. Pharmacies. Marianne has also said local grocery stores, their pharmacies, leisure centres. So I suppose it's all places where this cohort of patients or people and their carers would
it's
Yeah.
be
great
more likely to
suggestions there,
visit.
isn't it? Maybe we
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
pilot some of these suggestions and get some feedback then from people who picked them up. Thank you.
Yeah.
These are
Thank you.
great ideas.
And I'm
Yeah.
Mm.
making notes as well, so I'm sorry if I look like I'm looking to the side, or I'm not, responding straight away. I'm trying to make some notes, so I do apologize.
Mm.
So that's really helpful. Thank you.
Mm.
I think
I
Yeah.
suppose,
we can download the Laura. Can we download and share the chat as well?
We can give it a go. We'll have a go for that.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
it's
That would be
interesting
helpful.
and also taking on the, our environmental impact because I've noticed, yes, somebody's in the chat has put about that a lot of GPs don't have information leaflets now. So it's about identifying that need, isn't it? Actually being responsible for the environment and not printing things that we don't want, but then actually for people, who aren't able to access the internet. Um, or somebody, I personally really find it much easier to take things in from something that's printed. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's that balance, isn't it, of providing them for people who won't access them otherwise. But yes,
Yeah.
a really good point about,
Fab. So a final question then, I apologise we've asked so many questions, but this is more of a general rather than a closed question. So have we missed anything? What information would be useful to individuals taking multiple medications? And is there anything else that you would like to add? Because I guess, we've come with a set list of questions that we think would be useful, but is there anything that, we've missed really?
Any thoughts on that at all? Do speak. I can't actually see everyone's hands either.
No.
Uh,
Okay, fab. Well, thank you so much for having us today. I'm sorry to have taken up so much time, but it's been really useful. So thank you very much.
well, thank you for